Good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum, and very good afternoon to all. On the session 10th of this FTP, organized by Aligarh Muslim University Center, Malappuram, and sponsored by AICTE Training and Learning Academy, I am delighted to have the director of AMU Center, Malappuram, with us. Dr. Faisal KP completed his PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, worked with different central universities prior to his ongoing assignment. He is a regular writer of articles to many national and local newspapers and magazines. His researches are published by various reputed journals and publishers. He is invited to present papers and chair sessions organized by different agencies in different countries. He is the member of governing councils of various academic institutions. With this, I welcome Dr. Faisal KP to lead this session. I also welcome all the participants to this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nasiril sir. So let's start. Is it fine?
Yes, sir. Please start.
Dear participants, I hope everybody is very much accustomed to the topic that this 5-day long FDP has taken up. The technology and how the new developments and advancements in the field of technology has made new ways or made new transformation in the field of education. And today, I'll be presenting on to what extent our new education policy could envision or envisage, and also to look back and to be reflecting upon the contemporary development in the field of technology and try to explore the possibility by incorporating or by integrating the technology to the education field. So here, my presentation will be having 3 parts. First, I will try to look at National Education Policy 2020 in the context of emerging trends in the field of education and in the field of pedagogical transformations. And again, contextualize our national education policy in that background. And then what are the major requirement or the demands of this national education policy and all those the situations, that is 21st century pedagogical demands from the academia. Whether my screen is available?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So new education policy 2020 and pedagogical transformation. That is the topic of the discussion today. So first, as an introduction, I would like to invite your attention towards the possibility of India becoming the superpower, super knowledge power. And our Prime Minister has been vocal about this possibility of making India as one of these leading knowledge power, not only as leading, but actually as a super knowledge power. So is there any possibility of that? If we are looking at, yes, sure. And I think national education policy is trying to make or trying to explore those possibilities. The possibilities are coming from certain background. That is one, the first looking at the largest and youngest population of the world. India is the largest and the youngest population. Means our average age is 29 only. if the population more than 140 crore populations of India, if you divide the average age is only 29, that is the youngest population of the world. And second, looking at the traditions of India in terms of knowledge productions, in terms of knowledge consumption, dissemination of knowledge, we have rich traditions of our own knowledge systems. And we have to explore the possibility, the potentials of our own knowledge, the way our own epistemological systems. And then we look at even contemporary scientists and social scientists, the field of science and technology, we know how the Indians are performing. So the contributions of Indian to science and technology that is there, that is very much appreciated and all very much placed on records. And then looking at all this, we realize that India is having very good, very rich human capital. Globally, Indian professionals are considered among the best in their fields. So that is actually the existing, the potentials and the possibilities that India can take up, and India can move ahead with these resources, possibilities. And now the quality of human capital, as more than 140 crore, and that also with average age of 29. If we are able to make use of this human capital, and that can be possible only with the guarantee of high quality education. And this high quality education can be guaranteed by only when we are able to adapt to the new technology and the new changes to transformation taking place in the field of education, and the pedagogical changes in the pedagogical understanding and the pedagogical transformations. Let's look at certain aspect of those. And 21st century and new pedagogy. We know that the 21st century is known for the new scientific discoveries. And we know that we call also the focus on industries. The industrial society has shifted or changed to our development towards what's information society. Our economy, the strength of one's economy is now not based on industry now, it is based on information and knowledge, to what extent you are able to produce knowledge and you are able to actually the leading in the field of knowledge. So the scientific discoveries and also informatization process and globalization process. And we know actually how the development of astronauts and robotics and artificial intelligence, new development taking place in the field of education, in the field of technology. So that is why it is called 21st century is the age of digital technologies and knowledge. And most observable phenomena of this 21st century is internetization of society. Every aspect of our life has become internetized. We are very much connected with internet. Our life has become very difficult. Life will be very difficult without having this internet facility today. So everywhere, our industries, our economy, and our transaction, everything is now based on what is internet. So internetization of society is taking place at very fast. And also we know actually how penetration of digital technology into learning. Even we are here sitting different parts of the country, and we are listening to different lecturers who are also sitting different parts of the country. How easily we are able to connect each other, how efficiently we are able to know each other, understand each other. So this digital technology now has become a reality, and it has entered the pace, the degree of actually the accelerated force of this digitalization. And that also how it is entering into the learning and learning process. That's why it is said pedagogy of 21st century is different from the pedagogy of 20th century. Means we have moved away from the 20th century pedagogical understandings, and lots of transformation have taken place. And we have to understand this National Education Policy 2020 from this background. So the innovations in the pedagogy, we can understand how these new innovations has tried to unite between belief that the human potential is unlimited. The potential of human being is unlimited. And we have to, the teachers, the system of education has to explore the potential of this human potential. And then the approach is aimed at mastering reality in the systems. How new changes in the perspective that is taking place in the teaching learning process and also the pedagogical labs, and stimulation of non-linear thinking. Earlier, a teacher is saying something and people were given certain notes and materials, and everybody was made to think in a particular line. Now, no, stop. The process stopped. Now, non-linear thinking, you can think differently, divergently, differently, and also based on enjoyment of learning. Now, learning has become enjoyment. And based the joy of achievement and now again this new pedagogy also actually focus on achievement of the individuals, the learner, the student, and also the pedagogy of success. So make people to think, to do, and to explore themselves, so that they will be able, they can be very successful. Somebody's
Yes, sir. Please start slideshow.
okay, it is not showing. Why it is? I'm
Okay.
sharing.
Yes, sir. It's fine.
Okay. I'm very sorry for the interruption in between. So I was thinking that it is the screen was shared. I think the first slide was screen was shared. This one? No, the first screen introduction.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it was shared.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, now you can see the background that I was just going through. The innovations, the pedagogy night. I think you are able to read the belief that. Nasir sir, is it fine now? The background, the heading.
NEP 2020, the background.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yes.
I think it's all right. So I was explaining how the changes taking place in the pedagogy, how the new perspective approaches in terms of looking at taking human potential as unlimited, and also these approaches as how they're changing, and also giving the focus on mastering the reality in the system, not actually what just information grasping or by hurting, and also stimulation of non-linear thinking. People were earlier made to think in the same lane. Now multilinear or non-linear thinking is promoted, and based on enjoyment of learning. Now learning has become a kind of enjoyment, experience of enjoyment, and also based on joy of achievement and pedagogy of success. All these are new innovations, and what is in the field of pedagogy, or that the teacher simultaneously teach, and that is another major aspect of this new pedagogical development, that is teachers simultaneously teaching and also learning from the student. We also know actually how the transformation taking place in the field of knowledge, and the level of knowledge explosion is taking place, and how the students are also getting our access to the field, to the stock of knowledge, and also the revolution of knowledge, in which many times the teachers may not be aware of that kind of field or area. So the understanding of learning outcomes has shifted from knowledge or knowledge and skills to formation of competencies. Now the focus actually pedagogical level, if you are looking at internationally, and this is actually how things are changed and the approaches are changed, attitude towards education and towards learning process concern, and also the transformation in the field of pedagogy is taking place. Now again, so I'm just trying to conclude actually the background of the NEP 2020. Now from our approach from superficial learning to deep learning approach is it is actually how the 20th century pedagogy is different from the 21st century pedagogy. Now, 20th century learning was mostly based on superficial approach that is called reproduction of knowledge. Knowledge is produced by somebody and we are trying to reproduce. The teacher is coming and on the basis of certain notes and he's just presenting the notes and students and making note of the notes and again they are reproducing in the examination, they are reproducing. So the end process was reproduction of knowledge was taking place in the according as per this previous means 20th century means dominant pedagogical practice. And then their teacher regulated training that was there. Everything was actually teacher centered and he was taking care of everything. And passive epistemology, it was not that much. The scope for dynamism was limited, and people were consuming knowledge, or consumption of knowledge was given more in focus. And that is how we know. Actually, I'm also from a sociology background. We do have the theory of dependency theory and theory of dependency in the social sciences and other fields of the sciences. Which the theories say that Farid al-Attas and many other thinkers who are have proponed a theory of dependency says actually how the Asian community, the people in Asian countries are still living with the captive mind. Actually, that terminology used by Farid al-Attas. That is captive mind. Captive mind actually, though decolonization taken place, most of the Asian countries, though they were earlier colonies of the West, they got independence, but in terms of knowledge, they are still actually dependent. So how to end the dependency and how we can look, how it is possible, but only when we can understand the knowledge and education system from the perspective ending the practice of consumption of knowledge. That's how the 21st century learning based on deep approach, and we need to move from our what is a superficial approach to deep approach. What is deep approach? It means knowledge transformation. We have to, our system should focus on knowledge, transformation of knowledge rather than reproducing knowledge, and also self-regulated learning. It is not the teacher should not be control over the systems. He can be the facilitator. The students should be given the freedom and autonomy to use his own reason and rationality and capacity of thinking and to explore himself, self-regulatory learning. And active epistemology, it is not passive, active, engaging everybody who are the part of this system. And and relativistic view, views, things should be understood from different contexts. Different cultures and different societies and everything we can look at from relativist perspective. And that view should be, nothing should be in terms of absolute. So there are relative value for many, not only culture, but also other aspects of our life. And here the focus should be not only consumption of knowledge, the production of knowledge should be given actually proximity, importance. So the new approach, the shift from the superficial to deep approach, learning approach has been demanding more from the faculty, from the teacher and his professional activities. Now, it is all this from this background that we are this national education policy. Ranjana, please. Okay. A new this education policy, we have to look from this background of the transformation taking place in the field of education and the changes taking place in the attitude and approaches towards the teaching and learning process. Now, what NEP 2020 says, or actually how we can look at, we can see it's a new model of education that also tries to, kind of, it also marks a kind of rupture or a kind of break from the previous practices, and it's actually how it is promising a brand new approach to teaching and learning, emphasizing on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams. So this is actually the dominant practice in the field of education today. Even today, that is still existing, that we all are actually focusing on how to pass the examination, how to score A+, that's all. So here, so this not focusing on or this a conceptual understanding, rather we are focusing on rote learning, means learning by heart and learning for the purpose of exam. So our target is exams, not the competency or the high level skills. Now, this new model of education or new education policy tries to move from this previous 20th century it is pedagogy to the 21st century pedagogy, and providing for revamping the curriculum structure. That's an area or one major feature of this new education policy, that is curriculum structure. That proposes changes focusing on multidisciplinarity and a holistic education across the sciences, focusing multidisciplinary approach towards our knowledge, and holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world. And I think some of these aspects I'll be explaining further. So I'm just giving actually a kind of glimpse of national education policy, what it says, and proposing changes in assessment criteria and regulations. So this new education policy also proposed certain changes in the area how we used to evaluate our children, our students, and how things were regulated. So now there are certain changes in terms of assessment criteria and regulations. So here, by promoting creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decisions, decision making, and also innovations, the field. This is how new education policy tries to or propose to bring changes in the field of education. Now, another key changes that is going to take place in the current system, that proposed changes include moving toward multidisciplinary disciplinary universities and colleges with more higher education institutions across India that offer medium of instruction in local and Indian languages. Now we know actually how the focus means these local or indigenous languages are not getting that much prominence in the field of higher education, even in this primary education. Now this new education policy gives much focus on developing or actually promoting these Indian languages and the local languages, and even the instruction should be in the local and regional languages. Again, this is NEP also proposes a move towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate education, not only in terms of university institution, but also in the content and curriculum also, it is proposing a multidisciplinarity. And moving, I will just, again, I'm just focusing some area, and I will discuss some of these aspects in the coming slides. And moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy, not only the institution should be given autonomy, the institution should be kind of degree awarding, degree granting these institutions. The power should be given to these institutions, even the colleges, and not only to the institutions have the autonomy, but also the individuals, the faculty members will have the autonomy to design the course, to design the methods, to design the system of assessment, everything. It becomes actually the priority of discretion of the teacher. He will be given the power, the freedom to design his own. Now, establishment of National Research Foundation, that is another now, and this will be looking at the importance or the relevance of the different research going on. And again, it is a practical or pragmatical approach towards research that is also proposed by this national education policy. Light by tight approach. That is how I have taken that terminology from the national education policy itself. Regulation by a single regulator for higher education. Now there are different actually regulatory bodies and all. Now there will be a single regulator for different institutions. And because all the institutions are going to be multidisciplinary, IITs, no more IITs, no more other than no, and a separate management institution, all these will be having multidisciplinary approaches. We know actually the focus of IIT. Now with this system, even the IITs will be going these multidisciplinary universities. Now again, this also gives much changes also indicate or underlines the increase in access, equity, and inclusion. Though in the 12th plan and also our previous national education policy also stressed this aspect of access, equity, and inclusion. The same has been included or this continued in this policy also. Now, again, I'll just list out certain other characteristics or features of this national education policy. I have taken only those which are actually relevant to our discussions. Now, recognizing and identifying and fostering the unique capabilities of each student. And then a second major area of focus to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. And here, flexibility for learners to choose their learning object trajectories and programs, their own paths in life according to their talents and interests. And that is why once a person is entering a social sciences, he will be also learning sciences, and the person is going to a science stream and again having the social science. Actually, this is the system which is available in the US. Earlier, I think some of the critic of this policy also mentioned, or they also highlighted the shift of Indian education system from British towards what is a US. And now our university system, education system is going more akin to this US system of education in terms of all these flexibility and holistic development, many things else. And then no hard separation between arts and sciences. Now we know actually the separation between different discipline, different area of curriculum, and now these kind of demarcations, separations are going to be stopped. No difference between all separate, clear cut. Watertight, what is a segmentation or separation between art subjects, science subjects, and again curricular and extracurricular activity. Okay, all this will be integrated. So vocational and academic streams all will be combined together, and that is this separation will be ended. And then we can also see some of the area where national education policy has focused on is use of technology in teaching and learning. We can also see there is separate chapter 23 that underlying this aspect. I'll be focusing that that later. Now, extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, and removing language barrier. Removing language barrier. Language barrier means I already mentioned how the Indian education is going to be more and more focusing on these regional languages and different local languages. And now, even with the introduction of technology, that is proposed that even technology should be kind of facilitator to decrease or to reduce the gap between the teacher and the students, as many times language become a barrier. Because if you are not that fluent in English, you will not be able to access to quality educations. If you are not going to enter English medium schools now, how things are developing, and even in the local area, these local schools are known for not their education quality, but for many other activities. I have traveled some parts of different parts of the country, and I also seen how certain schools in Andhra Pradesh and in Bihar, UP, many places, and the local level schools, now they're actually even the cattle are roaming in the premises and also even inside the school and classrooms, because that local schools are not that given that much focus, or the students who are coming out of the school, they don't see any prosperity of higher education or career and all, because there are a divide, it is there, the gap is there, the kind of the perspectival or attitudinal changes towards those who are coming from this linguistic background or that linguistic background, and also the way we are learning in different language, there are also differences. And I think this policy focus on this kind of language barriers and also divide in terms of languages, discrimination on the basis of an advantage and disadvantage on the basis of language should be ended. And then a continuous review of progress based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts. So the continuous evaluation now, as earlier I just mentioned that exam focused, the learning, teaching, all the practices are becoming actually exam oriented. So this there should not be one event of examination. Rather, there should be a evaluation and assessment should be a continuous process where the teacher will be evaluating how to what extent the students is able to develop his capabilities and competencies, not merely assessing the stock of knowledge that a person is getting or gained. Now, looking at the major changes that take place in the field of education, we can see the curricular and pedagogical structure, how they have changed. At the school level, you see school education. And the left side, you can see existing academic structure and the new academic structure, how it is going to be. The first, the blue, black, and yellow color you see. The blue color that was not that given any importance or any focus at all. Some we know LKG and Anganwadis are there. It was not given any prominence in the system of education, our pedagogy. And we had actually once a person, child is getting 6th year, then from 6 to 16, up he'll be or she will be studying up to 10th, and after that we were having 10 plus 2, 11 and 12, and this is our education system. That is 12 years, 10 plus 2. Now see the new changes, the new structure of our curriculum. That is 3 years. So 5, it will be just 5 plus 3 plus 4. 5 will be divided to like 3 years. What is a Anganwadi or preschool or what is a Balawadi and all. So this will be from 3 to 6 years. And then there will be class 1 and 2 will be from A6, then 7, 8. From 8 onwards, from 6 and 7, from 8 onwards, he will be entering 3. See, after blue will be over by 7 years once completed. Means 3 years in the Anganwadi or preschools, and those 2 years in the that is called foundational. And the preparatory is called 3 years, that is class 3 to 5. And by that time, he or she will be 11 years completed. And after that, it is called middle school, preparatory school, then middle school, that is 3 years, that is class 6 to class 8. By 14 years, he'll be or she will be completing 8th standard. And after that, there are 4 years, that class 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 years. So age will be by 18 years. So this new pedagogical and curricular structure of school educations, we see given much focus on these pre-school systems, Anganwadi or preschools. So this is also coming from a kind of the transformation taking place in the pedagogical transformations, and how this educationist psychologists have explored or discovered that the year 3 to 8 is very important in the learning process, and it is how all the capabilities, different faculties of an individual is developed during this period, and that is why, and this period has given importance or also a focus in the new education policy. And here second stage, we know that it's 4 years, that multidisciplinary stage, greater critical thinking and flexibility, and students' choice of subject also given there, and middle stage 3, that experience, experiential learning in the sciences, mathematics, arts, social sciences, and preparatory stage play, discovery, and activity-based and literature. So even at each level, in terms of curriculum, also not only the structure has changed, but also in terms of the content of the curriculum also changed. Once it comes, let's say go forward again to see how this new education policy proposes changes in the field of higher education. The higher education is also going to be changing. The bachelor's degree will be in 4 years. Now we know actually mostly there are 3 years. 3 years degree. Now it will be 4 years degree. But again, there will be a choice. Option will be given to the students. He can exit for different exit points. And the exit point, first one will be exit after first year of this 4-year degree course. Then he'll be getting a certificate, and exit after 2 years, he'll be given diploma. And only when he complete 4 years, then only he'll be given what is a one is bachelor's degree. And again, my bachelor's degree, as I already mentioned, that it is going to be multidisciplinary. There will not be kind of clear separation between science, arts, subjects. The person can choose between. And that is how any individual can explore at any point of time his potential and his capabilities and his competencies. Otherwise, what happens? Looking at the background, looking once what is a neighborhood and the circumstances from which one is brought up. He will be starting with science, but he will not be tasting science. He will be starting with social sciences, but he will not be tasting social science after. So there is always a possibility of shift or explore ourselves in this multidisciplinarity. And then no rigid separation between arts and sciences. And again, another major development or proposal is no more MPhil degree after this PG. After this 4 years of bachelor's, there will be PG program, and after that there will be research programs. And college with another major changes that is going to be taking place in the field of higher education is colleges with greater autonomy and power to grant degrees. And before that, no affiliated colleges will be there after 15 years. So the colleges will have to accommodate more and more students. At least 3,000 students will be there in the one campus, and that campus will be high multidisciplinary nature. And then these colleges will be given autonomy to design its own, let's say, curriculum. It's even power to grant degrees. Till then, during these 15 years, these universities will be supporting to develop these colleges to that kind of independent entity in terms of higher educations, as higher educations. Not only that, and our education system is going to be more competitive. Even the higher education institutions are going to be more competitive if the policy is, the way the policy envisages the changes taking place in the field. We'll be seeing, for instance, the 100 international universities, the selected 100 institutions of international repute will be permitted to operate inside India. So we can we can imagine how different universities, the number one universities in the world, or the top universities in the world, Harvard, Oxford, and you imagine the situations. They're coming to India and going to open their campus in the country. How it is going to revolutionize the entire system or approach towards system of higher educations. Now, see, I'm just given certain changes, given certain points to think about how this new education policy is going to make changes, and what are the changes that are focused in this new education policy. First one, competency-based education. I mentioned earlier that it is not only on base of knowledge, it should be based on competency. It is not to what extent you by heart things. It is not to the extent that how much you read. But it is to the extent that how much you are able to develop your own competency and thinking and be innovative. So modules on preparing and implementing pedagogical plans based on competency and outcome-based educations. Then integration of subjects, as I mentioned, through arts integrated, sports integrated, ICT integrated, and storytelling based pedagogy, among others, as a standard pedagogy going to be this new approach in the field of educations. And after that, third major shift that is going to be the paradigm shift in the pedagogy, that is development of scientific temper. development of scientific temper, and inculcation of knowledge and practice of human and constitutional values, such as patriotism, sacrifice, non-violence, truth, honesty, peace, etc. So scientific temper means this level of, as I mentioned, the exploring one's autonomy of thoughts, reason, scientific temper, looking at things rationally, and a kind of further, a kind of a spirit of learning, that inculcation of knowledge and practice of human and constitutional value, and also not only that scientific temper will be developed and inculcated, but also so practice of human constitution values, the values that are enshrined in the constitution, promoted by constitution. For instance, the idea of patriotism, sacrifice, non-violence, secularism, honesty, peace. Though the word secularism is not mentioned, the policy for which the policy was criticized, I think some of the thrust of that idea is there in terms of this diversity and all, which we can find mentioned in other places of the constitution, this policy. And again, there are changes in the focus in the subjects and learning. I just mentioned in the previous slide that no hard separation between curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, and academic and vocational and science, humanities, sports, and art, everything will become integrated. So highly integrated system of knowledge, system of education that we are going to see after once these policies is implemented. And emphasis on digital literacy. Digital literacy, emphasis on digital literacy, coding and computational thinking, ethical and moral listening. As we will be seeing in the coming slides, that how there is to what extent we are facing as a society and digital divide between the communities, between rural, urban, between different communities. There is huge digital gap is there, divide is there. So this policy also focus on developing digital infrastructure and promotion of multilingual teaching, promoting states to enter into bilateral agreement with the nearby states to hire language teachers for the purpose of teaching their language. For instance, Kerala, we do have Malayalam, and see if we are teaching Tamil or Kannada, we can hire the teachers from the neighboring states for the purpose. So promoting states to enter into bilateral agreement between to hire language teachers. Then reduction in curriculum, that is another major feature of this national education policy. Curriculum and going to be transformed by 2022 to promote skill-based and minimize rote-based learning. So core essential curriculum in all subjects to be reduced to its core essentials. And critical thinking to be developed, focus on critical thinking, inquiry, discovery, discussions, and analysis-based teaching and learning methods for holistic education. And interactive classes where the agency of the students, where the students will be more dynamic, and the students can raise any questions, any doubts, and the promoting the students, encourage them to raise questions and to analyze. So this kind of capacity or faculties to be developed, interactive classes, and then experiential learning. Fun, creative, collaborative, and explorative activities in the classroom for experiential learning and deeper students learning that is taking place. That is going to take place once this policy is going to be implemented. Now again, on the basis of this previous discussion, I'm just concluding certain measure. I'm just giving certain focus how this how the policy is going to make changes in the form in the higher educations. The use of technology, that is actually our point of discussion today. I think most of you have joined to know that actually how we can use technology. I'm not going to discuss about how we can use technology in the field of education. That is what we will be studying, learning in these 5 days classes. I'm just focusing how important technology is, and it will be, and to what extent this new education policy has given focus on education policy, this technology in the field of education. So one of the major reform that is going to take place in the higher education curriculum is using technology in education planning, in a teaching, learning, assessment, in all area we'll be using technology. And that is why this kind of FDP are very important. Not only it is, I think it should be compulsory for all teachers. They should know actually how we can make use of this teaching, learning, and technology in the field of teaching, learning, and assessment. And administration and management also, the technology will be used and should be used. And we'll be seeing some of the aspect of how in the administration and management technology has to be used as proposed by National Education Policy. And not only that, even regulation, disclosure, and minimum human intervention in all this area. I think technology has to be used, and we will be seeing even the field of actually if more anonymity in terms of what is somewhere the students has to reveal themselves, disclose themselves, that will be completely kept. It will be kept its secrecy and with the means of technology, and increasing access for disadvantaged groups, that is also given focus by these. And disadvantaged group SEGs, actually socially and educationally backward sections, groups that are given again special attention in this policy. Earlier there were given certain focus on what is SC, ST, and minority and all. Now this national education policy has used has made all this category into a single category, that is SEDGs. What happened? Social, educational and deprived sections of the community, and they will be including what is a SC, ST, and minority. All other deprived sections will be there. Disadvantaged groups will be given certain focus. And also in e-content in regional languages, and virtual labs will be given. That is also one of the area which the governments are going to focus, that is virtual labs will be available for the students. They can access online. National Education Technology Forum, NETE, and digital equipping teachers and students. There will be different programs to equip teachers and students to be aware, to be equipped with development in the field of education, in the field of technology. Now, once this technology is adopted in the field of education, what will be the role of institution and faculties? That is something that we also should understand. Institutional faculty will be and will have to be innovative, to innovate on matters of curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment within a broad framework. And the government will be, and this there will be national one body will be there, regular body, and this body will be preparing a kind of broad framework. And inside within the framework, these different institutions and faculty members have to develop their own curriculum, their pedagogy, and assessment techniques, methods, and all. And higher education institutions shall move to a criterion-based grading system that assess students' achievement based on the learning goals for each programs. It's not only to what extent you know things. It should be for each. There should be certain goals of, if I'm teaching one subject, for instance, I'm teaching a paper, sociology. What should be the focus? What should be outcome once I complete the paper of one particular paper, one course? So the assessment will be on the basis of that, whether the outcome, whether the goal is met. Really, it was just like you just explain this theory of this and that. Okay, explain. Now, whether the theory is, to what extent the theory is applicable, whether the student is able to understand, analyze, or develop his own imaginations. No, that we're not that much. What is focus. Now there will be more and more. The teachers will have to be more engaging, and they will be more innovative. And each institutions will integrate its academic plans, ranging from curriculum improvement to quality of classroom transactions into its larger institution development plan, IDP. So it means the institution development plan, it should include both academic development, also that the infrastructural classroom quality transaction, how this teaching learning is taking place in the class, that also be included in the developmental plans of the institutions. And also high education, high quality support centers and professional academic and career counseling will be made available. So that is for the support system for the students that will be available, made available at each higher education institutions. All programs, courses, curricula, and pedagogy across subjects, including those in class, online, and in open distance learning modes, as well as student support, will aim to achieve global standards of quality. We will ensure that we are in whatever methods, whatever means we are teaching, whether it's online, whether offline, whether distance mode, whatever, it should meet the global standards in terms of quality. So that is another major, priority of this national education policy. Now, coming specifically to this technological part, as I mentioned, this technological part is explained in the section 23, technology use and integrations. I'm just have taken two quotes from that, which I considered very important for this FDP. So see, what a national education policy tells about these technological interventions or technological use in the field of education. Given the explosive pace of technological development, allied with the sheer creativity of tech-savvy teachers and entrepreneurs, including students, entrepreneurs, it is certain that technology will impact education in multiple ways, only some of which can be foreseen at the present time. So this policy underline two aspects. One is to the level of development taking place in the field of the technology and its intervention in the classroom exercises, and it also gives a kind of potential explorations, anticipating the future, because we are not able to foresee what will happen tomorrow in the field of education on the technology. So for that, we should be equipped. And that was actually the thrust of these passages. New technologies involving artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchains, smart boards, handheld computing devices, adaptive computer testing for students, student development, and other forms of education software and hardware will not just change what students learn in the classroom, but how they learn. And thus, these areas and beyond will require extensive research both on the technological as well as educational fronts. So this policy is foreseeing certain things that is going to happen in the field of education if we are not going to take up the demands of the time or need of the time in terms of incorporating our syllabus, integrating a syllabus with a new development taking in the technology, in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also smart board. Many possibilities are there, which are given by the development in the field of science and technology, that we have to be aware and we have to make use of. And for this, we need actually extensive research in on the technology and also the education front and how we can use it. So the thrust of technological intervention in the field of education will be, the purpose will be improving teaching, learning, and evaluation process, and supporting teacher preparations and professional development, and enhancing educational access, and streamlining educational planning and management, including process related to admission, attendance, assessment, etc. All this can be simplified and also more transparent and also more systematic if we are making use of the technology. And that is why this national education policy states that technology should be used, integrated with our education system, for not only for improving our teaching, learning, and but also for evaluation, not only for teaching, learning, and evaluation, but also for the entire managing, for the entire system, administering of education systems, in terms of admission, in terms of attendance, in terms of assessment, in terms of even enhance access to education also. If, for instance, if somebody is missing the class, they there are two types of teaching now these days. it can be, you can use your these live classes at the time, and also once your class is over, again your lecture is available to the students. He can learn, he can listen. So this kind of what is a blended level of teaching, and also many other systems of teaching which are made easy by the development of science and technology and their intervention in the field of education. And national education policy recognizes challenges arising on account of the widespread use of artificial intelligence and highlight the need to adopt changes occurring on account of increased use of what is it, there is certain challenges will also we have to anticipate, and how this what will happen when there is high use of this artificial intelligence across sectors. In the light of the emerging disruptive technologies, the policy is pioneering as it notes the need to generate awareness as well as conduct research on various aspects of the emerging disruptive technology, including concern pertaining to data handling and protections. We all know actually to what extent this data has become very important, and even sometimes the political issue. So all this, how we can handle this very, very carefully or protect the data. Or for in all these areas, there should be certain research should be promoted, and again how the emerging disruptive technology can be useful, and how we can further move ahead from this background that is available today. And then one major proposal by this national education policy with respect to technology and education, that is national education policy proposes the creation of autonomous body, namely the National Educational Alliance for Technology, that's NEET. So NEET will be a platform for use of technology to enhance learning, assessment, planning. So whatever I just mentioned now, so for all these NEET will be a platform for integrating all different state level, different organizations. So what will be the role of the NEET? It will be to provide best education technology to the students using a portal, and to build intellectual and institutional capacities in educational technology. So it will help the institutions to enhance its capacity in the education technology. And then third, to provide independent evidence-based advice to central and state governments agencies on technology-based interventions through its expert body. So NEET will have its expert body, and then that body will be advising different state and central governments agencies how we can improve our teaching, and how we can make use of the technology in the field of education, that how the technology-based intervention can be possible in the field of education. Then fourth, it will also envision strategic thrust areas in this domain of education, and to articulate new directions for research and innovations. All these will be taken care of this NEET, that is National Education Alliance for Technology. So it will be kind of a platform for technology to enhance learning, assessment, planning, administrations, and so on, whatever the requirement, not only higher education, but also school level, both for schools and higher educations. This NEET will be a kind of upper advisory body, or a kind of facilitator, which will help different institutions to establish themselves, to enable themselves to adapt to new technology. Now, towards a conclusion, looking from national education policy and its background and many other things, we have to understand, as most of us are actually from teaching field and from academic field, we have to understand the thrust area of national education policy. Only when we are educated and we are aware of the need of this kind of changes, transformation, then only things can be easier. Then only it will be successful. As it is said, law cannot change society. Law itself cannot guarantee any rule, any order. Only when the social mindset is ready to accept, then only anything is possible. Similarly, we the teachers, we the academy have to understand certain things. Students not only learn for them, we should be critically look at. It is not only important for the students to learn, but for them it is also important how they are learning. How they are learning. And it is not only how they are learning and what they are learning. And education must move towards less content. But it is not, no, it is what they are learning, but more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems. Means to what extent, not only what they are learning, to what extent we are able to make them competent. We are able to inculcate the thinking. We are able to make them to use their autonomy, and we are able to promote, encourage, means non-linear thinking, critical thinking, and that is something it is for us, the teachers, have to guarantee that. And again, we have to see the importance of to be creative and multidisciplinary. So time has come for everybody to move across the disciplines. Means our readings should not be confined to a particular area, and our approach to towards other disciplines, and also understanding everything that is going to be kind of demand of the time when this kind of multidisciplinary approach is developed. And again, how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing. We always, this will learning and developing ourselves. And then the call for digital India, we know that that is possible only when, as I told, more investment in digital infrastructure, development of online teaching platforms and tools, creation of virtual labs, creation of digital repositories, training teachers as online content creators. We all have to be very efficient in terms of developing the online contents. And now again, I think we will be learning in this FDP, different sessions are there, how we can create contents, online contents, designing and implementing of online assessments, and establishing standards for content, technology, and pedagogy for online teaching learning. So all these, if we can guarantee, if we can ensure that we can be the part of all these process, which are very necessary for making India digital, then only that that policy will be meaningful. And I think that is what for the policy require from us. But again, the challenges, as per the government survey, July 2017 to June 2018, and this was published in 2019, our infrastructure, our access, that is very, very pathetic. See, the access to computer, if you look at, and as a teachers, we also have to understand this reality also. We see many times now, these days, we are getting different complaints from the students. Sir, my mobile was not working. Sir, we did not getting access to internet. So we could not submit the assignments on time and all. So these kind of loads of issues are there. But sitting in the urban area and in the privileged community and privileged families, we may not be aware of the kind of problems that our children, our students are facing in the field. And for that purpose only, I've just given, as a sociologist, I know actually the problem that actually the people, the ground, the field they're facing. And we should not be blind towards that. Whenever any kind of technological interventions are coming, it is not that we cannot guarantee. We will not be able to implement at time unless and until the facilities, infrastructure facilities are guaranteed. Otherwise, it will be injustice towards the disprivileged and deprived sections of the communities and our Indians. So see, just glaring some kind of data, I'm just giving you, just to wind up this, just before winding up my session or my lecture on national education policy and pedagogical transformations. See, certain ideas. Access to computer. What is actually the, this is not any kind of NGO survey, it is government survey. Rural India, only 4.4 people, households have access to computer. In the urban area, it is much better. That is 23.4% of the households in the urban area, they're having access to computer. But think about 4.4 are having computer, but it means 95.6% of the people do not have computer or do not have access to computer. And access to internet, you think about rural area is only 14.9%, urban is 42.0. And not only that, knowing of using of computer, how to use computer. Not only having computer, that is something, access to computer is something different from know how to use computer. You may not be knowing how to use computer, but you may have computer. But sometimes you may not have computer, but you know how to use computer. So how many people know how to use computer in the rural area? Between A and age 5 plus, only 9.9, that is less than 10% of the people know how to use computer. In the urban area, it is 32%. And know how of using internet facility, how we can use internet. That is rural area 13 and urban area 37, 13 and 37. Now, this is some kind of like realities of the country, and it is for any policy there are certain challenges, and the challenges before this present government, not only present government, for the contemporary society is to ensure the digital infrastructure is developed, and there is also high focus on investment and allocation of the fund in the field of education. And we know national education policy envisages to make India from the very beginning. I'm just going back, India is to be knowledge power, superpower. So here, 3 stakeholders have to play the roles, then only this is possible. So we have to identify the role of a teacher, the role of schools in university, that is institutions and higher education institutions specifically, and the role of state and society. Only if all these components are working together and performing their roles, playing the roles, then only we can ensure that yes, we are going to be a knowledge power. The role of teacher is design of the contents, methods, strategies, technology of education, to integrate technology in the field of educations and to make applications, apply more innovative methods in the field of teaching and the learning process. And now whatever the technology may available, but the success of it depends upon the teacher. To what extent the teacher is competent enough to adapt to and to adopt. To that extent, the atmosphere, the institutional atmosphere will be changed. The institution may have all kind of facilities. In some institutions, they have their good facilities, but if the teachers are not making the students make use of it, and if the teachers themselves are not aware of it, then they are useless. And that is what is happening in India today. And role of schools and universities, encourage and stimulate the development of teachers and students' creativity. The schools and institutions, universities, they have to promote the teachers. Integrate, they have to respect the integrity of the teachers. They have because the policy has given a kind of autonomy of the teacher, faculty, it is what is underlying. But now the institutions have to also give that freedom for the faculty in terms of to explore their creativity. And the role of state and society. So new pedagogical culture should be created. We know that this COVID pandemic has affected not only Indians, but different parts of the world. All are actually on the same. But we know the differences of the students in terms of their approaches towards this online teaching. There are differences. Most of the Indians, whether we can adjust to the system or not, forget about actually what I would think, just this facility, infrastructure facility. But still, there are situations where we find that we are not ready to change ourselves. some inertia is there to adapt to the new demands of the situations. We have tries to find excuses. Okay, I did not teach because there was no internet. I did not submit because we find that actually there are kind of looking for excuses and making the system fail. So this is mainly because the culture, the pedagogic culture is not developed. It's a kind of some kind of activities going on. But the main thrust, the idea of learning, the idea of teaching learning is not properly taking place except in few education institutions. And that is why we know in the world ranking how many institutions are coming. How many universities are the top 100 universities in the world level? We cannot find because our pedagogical culture is still 20th century or beyond. We are not moved to 21st century and we are not able to take up these challenges and we are failed as a system to adapt to changes and to adopt new technologies in the field of education and to make our children or make our students to learn, to be critical, to be competent. And I think that is our responsibility. And with these few words, I think our national education policy tries to look at all these areas and try to reduce the gap minimum and propose transformations in all these areas. And I hope if we all are able to support the systems and the policies the way it can play positively, and if there are certain corrections and suggestions, I think it is already called by the concerned department sections for any suggestions for this policy and all, but I think most of them have given their own ideas and many parts were reviewed and revised, but we as a community, as society, with the feeling of a single Indian society and looking for making India as a knowledge power and everything is possible. With these few words, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to each one of you for your perspective and you are listening to my lecture for more than 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It was very informative session. And you have touched the general overview of the national education policy and in a view of educational technology, how national education policy is suggesting the technological use in education. I hope there will be some concerns to discuss from participants. Participants may please ask queries if you have, and again, you may have the idea, you might have gone through the policy and you might have got some suggestions to add that is already communicated to the concerned authorities. That also you can discuss here so that we all will be get aware of it. Thank you.
So, may I ask? I mean, a small concern.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So, I agree that reforms are required in the education sector. But how about the jobs in this sector? Means how this new education policy would have the impact on the jobs? Would it create more jobs, or because of the involvement of technology, which is obviously it is required in the education sector? So with this involvement of technology, would it reduce the jobs in this sector, or it would increase? So you have muted yourself.
Yes, sir, you are muted.
Actually, sir, whether we are collecting all the questions and answer, whether we are individually answering.
We are individually answering.
Okay. I think I appreciate the questions, Shubhra Gupta. I think if your name shown is correct. I appreciate the question that the concern for always there is a concern whenever there is any kind of technological interventions, whether it is going to affect our career prospect or whether it is going to affect our job, employment. See, we have to understand the employability also depends upon to what extent one is going to be techno savvy and also to be equipped with the new technologies. And if we are outdated and if we are not aware of this development in the field of technology, obviously your prospects is going to be limited. In each field, now, as I mentioned in my lecture, it is not only the knowledge but the competency. And the competency, it is a kind of the competency we cannot define in a particular single factor. There are different elements which are involved in competency, and this know-how of the technology that is there. And how I don't understand how from where the concern of degrees or the decline or less chance of education or employment once the technology is adopted. I don't think it will be. But rather, they will be open more doors to more opportunities. That's how we are seeing how in the developed countries there are more and more opportunities created.
Yes. Sir, can I ask?
Okay, please. Dr. Muhammad
Yes.
Yusuf. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding the regional language, which is going to be implemented in the new educational policy, can you please throw some more light, sir? For me, my concern is when students are going to learn their subjects in their regional language, but the higher education, the medium of instruction is in English language. So how this is going to be, how the regional languages are going to affect the improvement of the student? There's a bit, I don't understand that. So can you please throw some light on that?
Means if we are introducing our curriculum in regional languages, whether it is going to affect the prospectus of a student, that is your concern?
Yes, sir, for the higher education. Or the higher education itself is going to be in the regional
See,
language.
that is why now there are multiple possibilities are there. Even a higher education will also be, there will not be any focus on particular language and the language barrier. Actually, things have to be clear again. Guidelines and rules will be coming. But as per while going through the policy, what we can what one can understand, that is because of one's belonging to a particular language and coming from a language, it should not affect his prospects. So language barrier will be reduced, and how it can be reduced, and for that also technology is given a focus. A focus is given to technological aspects. So because using technology, the language barrier in the education field will be reduced. That is what actually. Now, a student is coming from a regional linguistic background, and whether it will be affecting him to move higher education, I think that will be against the spirit of this new education policy, because this education policy stresses the multiple the languages and multiple types of universities, and in everywhere this regional language will be given focus and importance. So obviously there will be universities in the regional languages. That's what I could read through. I could understand from these policies, sir. This is whether I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So the concern for me is because when students come to the college, like they
Yes,
study from the regional language and they come to the college, then they have lots of problems.
Yes, I got your concerns. So now, while looking at this policy, while going through the policy, it says clearly says that concern.
I'm unable to hear you, sir. Sorry, sir.
Hello.
I'm unable to hear you, sir.
Faisal sir,
Got
your
disconnected?
bandwidth is poor. You have poor bandwidth. You can turn off your
Switch off my
camera,
video.
Faisal sir.
Okay, fine.
Okay, okay.
So what I was suggesting, going through the policy, we can understand that there will be a focus on regional languages, and these states and different language community will be given facilities to go for higher educations in their regional languages, and the promotion of the regional languages will not be confined to primary educations. That's what we can understand.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Mahesh Kumar, faculty from Nitya Meenakshi College, Bangalore. So thank you for giving a wonderful presentation on national education policies, and as well as pedagogical transformation. Sir, I have one doubt. So in bringing up the new education new policies, so what are the roles of the academicians, like faculty members, and as well as the students, in bringing out this policy in a very neat manner, like a very outcome?
Hello, your voice is not coming. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello.
No, I missed your voice in between. It was broken.
Sir, actually, what are the role of the faculty members and the students in bringing this NEP policy in a very broad manner to the society?
Means in what way we can support it? But
Yes, yes.
See, once a policy is coming, we all will be bound to follow it. It is not it will not be an option or choice for the students and teacher. Rather, a system is coming and the system is going to transform, and individual will have to automatically transform, and he will have to adjust to the new system. That's all. We will not be having any options left. So, for instance, the colleges, if the college, actually this college, I have established the college, and I don't want to be kind of independent, or this or any university say this institution has been working under, I will not be giving that autonomy. I don't want autonomy. No, the systems comes and all of a sudden everybody will have to adjust to the systems, and it is not that whether we want or whether we are willing, but what the concluding remark I just mentioned. So if we are really concerned about as the Indians, and we want to make India one of the leading knowledge superpower, I think there are many prospects, there are many wonderful ideas which are proposed by this policy, and only when we inculcate, we as both the students and teachers, the community together, we understand actually what is actually the thrust of this policy, and we try to give maximum from outside, then obviously things can change, and the policy cannot change ourselves, cannot change the society. Only we, it is a kind of this is a give and take. We can say dependable. Both are depending each other. The system itself cannot make changes, and the individual has to change. The individual cannot change unless the system changes, make changes. So this is a kind of very very complex relationship between these two different stakeholders in the field of education. All will have to change, and all will have to be aware of these the policies and also the provisions of the policy, and then whatever changes is possible. That's what I expect. I hope.
Like you mean to say, like we are bounded to that policy and we have to follow up that policy, sir?
Yes, that's all. That's all. We'll have to. Once the policy.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked this question is like still we are in whatever the policies we are following, no, like that is not up to the mark with respect to the students or with maybe the faculty members or maybe any other people. So I just wanted to get an answer from you, like say, like it is our responsibility basically to improve the education system in our India. So that is what I wanted, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. I agree.
Any other question? Sir, there are some concerns regarding the existence of B.Ed colleges
Okay.
if 2-year or integrated B.Ed colleges are established.
Uh-huh. So what can you concern?
Is integrated pre-young B.Ed programs means
This is actually,
independent B.Ed colleges are there. The existence of such colleges.
uh-huh. Means there is a provision. Standalone college we cannot be to say now they are going to change. For instance, there will not be any kind of teaching training colleges. There will even, as I mentioned, IITs are going to change. There will not be any IIT, only on technology. There will be every no, and there will be multidisciplinary perspective approach that will be there in each institution, not only institution, in each courses. So the multidisciplinary approach, actually, that is one of the thrust of our new national education policy. So just like this IIT will have to go for transformations, they have to adopt to new. Similarly, these education institutions, B.Ed training colleges will have to go under changes. They cannot sustain. And then another thing, these 4-year B.Ed going to be. And one of the major changes that proposed by the new education policy in the field of teacher training. And this integrated training means BA, B.Ed, BSc, B.Ed, BCom, B.Ed. Similarly, there are different, how just like we are having BLLB course, the education will also be aligned, integrated with other disciplines. There will not be kind of just B.Ed awarding colleges and courses. I think the concern is real, and I think it is going to be as per the policy that is going to change. I think my answer is clear. It was
Yes, sir.
okay.
And any other concerns? Please use your microphone and ask.
Hello, sir. This is Archana Shetty from Goa. I wanted to know, basically, according to NEP 2020, what will be the future of existing 2 years B.Ed course colleges?
See, again, I think the repetition of the question, again, I think it will not be kind of all of a sudden this college will be asked to stop. They'll be given time to change, to transform. So once something is given, there will be instruction, there will be rules and guidelines will be there, and we'll have to go for changing ourselves. So we'll have to introduce more courses. So that's
such colleges will have to be upgraded.
Upgraded, yes, that's exactly. So even there will be 500 students who are kind of college will not be promoted. So in 15 years, actually, there are time given. It is not only it is going to happen in 2014 and 2020, 24 and all. It will be, time will be there. But during this, for instance, the affiliations of the college will be stopped by in 15 years only. So that way there will be it in a phased manner. So for everything now, for most of the universities, I think UGC has issued a circular to change their syllabus, the B.Ed. And I think in Aligarh University also they have introduced the 4-year B.Ed. Foreign BA B.Ed means they have not started, but they have decided to start like. So that way, I think the institution will have gradually have to transform themselves. They have to change themselves. Otherwise, they cannot sustain. But it is not that in a day or two, or in a month or two, or in a year or two, there will be some time will be given by the government to change and to transform, to adopt, according to the needs of the time and as per the policy provisions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And after all, policy, it is once policy is there, unless there is a clear guidelines or rules, regulations based on the policy, we are not we cannot say anything. This is a policy, it's a draft outline how to be. Now it's a kind of ideal situations. Now how to be actually in time practical, that government will be issuing guidelines or rules will be there, orders will be there. And once the rules and orders will be coming, then only all this policy will have any practical aspect, practically.
Any other queries? Otherwise, we'll wind up this session. Sir, I hope there are no much queries, and anyhow, there are queries in our minds on the implementation side of this policy. Let's wait and see, and what we can do is only to ensure our supports to the government for the betterment of the education system in our country. I hope with all our supports and efforts and the readiness to change and to take new initiative, we will be able to make desired changes in the education system of our country. Sir, you have covered almost all the important points discussed by NEP, and we are enlightened, and there were comments in the comment box that though they had gone through different programs where the NEP was discussed, something new also was highlighted here. So anyhow, by attending the academic session like this, we will not be losing anything, rather than we'll be getting only. Thank you very much, sir. And I hope we'll be organizing lots of useful programs for the academia overall the country. And thank you very much to you, and thank you very much, dear participants. We'll have the next session tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. And I request the participants to mark their attendances and give the genuine feedbacks on this session. Thank you very much.